Picture this. It is 3 in the morning in San Francisco. In a dark glass tower, monitors glow with training curves, error graphs, and live user numbers ticking up and down like a stock market crash. Somewhere in that building, Sam Altman has just told thousands of people one phrase that almost never gets used inside a tech company: code red. Not a marketing slogan. Not a drill. A label reserved for existential threats. The kind that decide who wins the AI race and who fades into history. So what was scary enough to trigger code red at OpenAI? A model called Gemini 3. After a shaky first attempt, Google came back with a frontier system that did not just win benchmarks, it flipped the story. Suddenly, OpenAI, the scrappy disruptor, looked like the complacent incumbent. And Google, powered by its custom TPU chips and a decade of infrastructure work, looked like the hungry challenger. In a moment, we will get into Garli, OpenAI's secret counterattack. But first, you need to see how the ground shifted under their feet. For the last couple of years, a new belief took over AI Twitter and research labs: scaling is dead. Big names like Ilya Sutskever, Andrzej Karpathy, and Jan LeCun argued that just stacking more graphics cards and more tokens onto the same large language model architecture had hit a wall. Bigger did not mean smarter anymore. It mostly meant more expensive. People started saying, we have squeezed all the juice out of this approach. To go further, we need new algorithms, new architectures, maybe even new kinds of models entirely. Ilya Sutskever even broke it into eras: 2012 to 2020 as the age of research, 2020 to 2025 as the age of scaling. And now, he said, we are going back to research because 100 times more compute will not give you 100 times better models. Karpathy talked about current models running out of room to grow. Jan LeCun went further, calling autoregressive text models a dead end and pushing energy-based and world model directions. When leaders talk like this, budgets move. Companies stopped betting on massive pre-training runs and focused on safety, tooling, and smaller specialized systems. Inside OpenAI, the story seemed to match that narrative. According to SemiAnalysis, they had not completed a successful broadly deployed, full-scale pre-training run for a new frontier model since GPT 4.0 in May 2024. Almost a year and a half with no new giant brain actually reaching users. Training got harder. Bugs were more catastrophic. Infrastructure limits bit harder. It felt like proof that everyone had hit the same wall. But here is the twist. Google quietly disagreed, and that disagreement became their secret weapon. While rivals tweeted about ceilings, Google poured money into its TPU v5 fleet, high bandwidth interconnects, and data pipelines tuned for multi-trillion parameter mixtures. Gemini 3 is the proof. It pushed past GPT-4 class systems on coding, math, and multimodal reasoning, and did it at interactive speeds normal users could tolerate. For developers who saw Gemini 1 and 1.5 as side grades, this finally felt like a real generational jump. And the key was simple, but brutal. Scaling laws still pay off if you can actually keep scaling. Google's vertically integrated stack gave them an edge. TPS bundle memory, interconnect, and matrix units in a package built specifically for transformer-style workloads. You can string together hundreds of thousands of these chips in tightly coupled pods without setting your power bill on fire. That is what makes Gemini 3's massive mixture of experts design possible in production, not just in a research paper. And the market noticed. Google says Gemini jumped from roughly 450 million to about 650 million active users in a few months. Here is where it hits you directly. Gemini is wired into Google Docs, Gmail, Android, Chrome, and Vertex AI by default. Model choice is no longer a careful decision. It is whatever shows up in the tools you already use. For the first time, developers who defaulted to OpenAI started seriously porting copilots, agents, and chatbots into the Google ecosystem because quality was comparable and inference on TPS was cheaper. This is not just a benchmark win. This changes who gets hired next, what startups build on, and which AI you talk to every day without even thinking about it. Inside OpenAI, code red meant a brutal reset. Sam Altman told teams to stop anything that did not directly make ChatGPT faster, more reliable, or more addictive to use. Experimental ads, shopping integrations, side bet enterprise tools, all slowed or paused. Product managers who spent a year designing AI-native productivity apps were suddenly told, your job is simpler now, defend daily active users. Performance work became the new growth strategy. Shave hundreds of milliseconds off response times. Harden uptime. Fix every flaky answer that makes a user bounce to Gemini. Altman's memo reportedly focused less on raw IQ points and more on experience. Make ChatGPT feel faster than Gemini 3. Make it feel more tailored. Make it break less often. That is a quiet but profound strategy shift. For years, OpenAI chased splashy features. Multimodal demos, voice agents, app stores, big keynotes. Under Code Red, the mandate looks like classic platform defense. Because if ChatGPT stops being your default tool, it does not matter how smart the next model is. You will not be there to use it. Behind the scenes, metrics changed overnight. Instead of cheering for flashy demos, OpenAI leadership started tracking daily and weekly active users, session length, task completion, and drop-off rates when answers were slow or wrong. Every irrelevant reply, every "I cannot help with that dead end" became an existential bug. Teams were reassigned. Researchers who had been exploring long-term ideas were pulled back into near-term work on reasoning reliability, multi-step tool use, and better memory. And all of this is setting the stage for one thing: a new model codenamed Garlic. Garlic is the kind of name you pick when you are trying to ward off something scary. According to reporting from The Information, OpenAI quietly started training Garlic this fall as its first true post-GPT-4 frontier model, explicitly framed as a response to Gemini 3 and Google's TPU-driven scaling wins. Mark Chen, the chief research officer, reportedly told staff that Garlic is now the top research priority. Internally, they describe it as GPT 4.5 class compute with Gemini 3 class efficiency. In plain language, not just bigger, but smarter about how it uses every unit of compute. Instead of chasing size for its own sake, Garlic aims at the exact bottlenecks Gemini just bulldozed. Smarter data curation, curriculum-style training, aggressive mixture of experts routing to keep costs in check. Where Gemini flexed on broad web benchmarks and multimodal tasks, Garlic reportedly focuses on high-value workloads, coding, long-horizon reasoning, and tool use. On OpenAI's internal coding suite, heavy on multi-file refactors and agentic workflows, early runs of Garlic already edge out Gemini 3 Pro and Anthropic's Opus 4.5 by a few percentage points on pass at one coding metrics. Reasoning benchmarks tell a similar story. Garlic reportedly beats Gemini 3 and Opus 4.5 on OpenAI's private mix of math and logic tasks, including synthetic chain of thought problems designed to punish shallow pattern matching. Staff who saw the numbers described Garlic as comfortably ahead of GPT 4.1 and trading blows with Gemini 3 Ultra on difficult multi-step prompts, even before final training and reinforcement learning passes. Architecture-wise, it looks like an evolution, not a reboot. A GPT 4.1 style backbone with heavier sparsity, better retrieval hooks, and tighter integration with tool calling. There is even debate over how to brand it. Internally, Garlic is just a codename, but executives are reportedly weighing whether to call it GPT 5.2, a quiet but sharp upgrade, or GPT 5.5, marketed as the full-scale answer to Gemini 3. Timelines floating around point to an aggressive window: a staged release to enterprise customers in Q4, and broad availability by the end of the year if training and safety evaluations stay on track. If that lands, the model you use at work next year might feel very different from the one you use today. To make Garlic possible, OpenAI is going back to the brutal frontier of pre-training. Mark Chen has reportedly told staff that the company let its pre-training muscle atrophy while it chased reinforcement learning from human feedback, safety work, and shiny product features. For roughly 18 months after GPT 4.0's training wrapped in May 2024, they did not ship a new full-scale frontier pre-train. Now, Code Red gives Chen cover to rebuild that capability with an almost 2020-style frontier lab mentality. Pre-training is once again the hardest, most leverage-rich part of the stack. So, what does all of this mean for you? In the short term, it is great news. Code Red at OpenAI and Google's scaling push mean faster, cheaper, more capable models competing for your attention. Chatbots that remember more of your context. Coding copilots that can refactor entire projects, not just single files. Agents that can actually finish multi-step workflows without falling apart. When giants fight for distribution and brand loyalty, users get better tools. But there is another side to that coin. As ChatGPT and Gemini race to become your default assistant in every app, the stakes go beyond convenience. Whoever wins this war gets to define the norms around privacy, safety, and what kinds of tasks get automated first. If your inbox, your documents, your code base, and your calendar all flow through a single model, its biases and failure modes become the invisible rules of your workday. The AI you casually accept today might quietly decide which jobs feel necessary in 2026 and which ones can be done by a bot running on TP-US in a data center. Here is the real question. Not can they build garlic or can Google keep scaling Gemini? They already can. The question is, what kind of AI world do you want to live in when the default assistant in your browser, your phone, and your office suite is chosen for you by a distribution deal, not by your careful evaluation? In the coming year, you are going to see more of these frontier launches, more code reds, more secret code names. The winners will not just be the smartest models. They will be the ones that feel indispensable to you every single day. If you want to stay ahead of that shift, this is the moment to pay attention. In upcoming videos, we will break down how Garlic, Gemini 3, and their rivals actually change coding jobs, creative work, and everyday productivity. So, if you want a part 2 on what this AI arms race means for your career and your company, tell me in the comments. And make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is moving faster than anyone expected, and you do not want to wake up one day and realize your default assistant has already been chosen for you.